The past is an important teacher. It is essential to have an understanding of the past so that we can learn from it, both the good and the bad, in order to not repeat the mistakes that have been made by those who have gone before. It is also how we learn where we can go in the present moment with honor and integrity for a better future for all. The craft of the Hedge Witch is formed from both the old ways and the new. We begin our exploration of the craft of the Hedge Witch by looking at the cunning folk from our past history. The cunning folk were those who operated on the edges of society and yet worked for society. They were the healers, the midwives, the wise women and men of their communities. They knew where the herbs grew that could heal or harm. They knew the language of beasts and could foretell the future through observance of natural phenomena. They were the ones whose eyes and ears were open, who paid attention to the world around them, and who integrated themselves not only with the human world, but also with the other-than-human realms, often operating betwixt and between the worlds. These were the folk who were different, who had come to terms with their separateness and who welcomed and worked with their own innate power. These were independent thinkers and doers with various agendas, ranging from helping locals in a beneficial way to practicing any kind of magic, both beneficial and malefic to those who paid them. They knew their own minds and stood beyond the social norms of the day to practice their craft. These were the practitioners of folk magic, as opposed to the ceremonial magicians often employed by the aristocracy before the beginnings of the Reformation, when all magical practices were subsequently deemed evil, witchcraft and ceremonial magic alike. These cunning folk were the toad men and women, the fairy doctors and the pellers. They worked alone, often performing their services alongside their usual occupations. The cunning folk were solitary, as opposed to witches who reputedly mostly worked in covens, at least according to the confessions derived from torture during the infamous witch trials of the Middle Ages. It is this author's opinion that the covens alluded to in the witchcraft trial confessions were little more than an attempt to bring more people into trial via the witch hunters, who made a lot of money on people they could accuse and charge for witchcraft, and the possessions and property that were taken over from those accused, condemned, and killed for witchcraft. Today's Hedge Witch can be seen as a continuation of these cunning folk who worked on the edges of society. The Hedge Witch carries knowledge and wisdom of the natural world and is also a walker between the worlds. They are a solitary worker of the craft, with their own needs, desires, experience, and specialties.